Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We've got Chris here as well. And there's a few ladies that's very involved with Grace Online that's joining us here today as well. This meeting is not live. It is a private Zoom meeting. However, if you would like to just retain your anonymity, you're welcome to switch your camera off. And yeah, if you're welcome to do that, and even change your name if you would like to do that as well. So, can I just ask the co-hosts to help me whenever there's sound coming in, we can just mute that specific person as well. So, ladies, we are talking today about you're not broken and how brave you actually really are. And this is for women whose trust has been shattered by this event, this D-Day event known as betrayal. And we're going to have a bit of a specialist conversation about the impact of betrayal upon our lives. There's a few questions that I think is very, very important. That is, why can't I stop checking his phone? That is something that is very important to understand. Why can't I stop checking his phone? Maybe you've got another question, and the question's all about, am I crazy for feeling this way? And will I ever trust this person in my whole life ever again? Will I ever be able to trust this person ever again? We're going to talk about that for a bit as well. I'm just finding my uh, talking notes here quickly. Shucks, something went wrong on my side. Okay, so those are a few points that we're going to be talking about. Hopefully, you'll be able to discover why your reactions are normal, and why this is a normal trauma response and not a specific character flaw that you are faced with. I see there's still a few people heading into the sessions, so let's just allow them in, and then we'll continue from that point onwards. Okay, I think that's everybody. Sorry, everyone. I'm having issues all of a sudden with my computer. You know, whenever you try and do something completely new, then everything bombs up. Chris, would you like to introduce yourself for a moment and share with us what it is exactly that you've experienced at Grace Online and a bit of your role? I'm going to ask you, Stel, to do the same thing as well while I'm trying to figure out what is going on with my system here all of a sudden. Thanks,
Surely.
Chris.
No, I will introduce myself. So I'm Chris. I am a recovering porn addict. Currently, I'm on 431 clean days, and joined the program to better myself. And actually, then what happened is that I became part of the staff at Grace Online as well. So currently handling a lot of the consulting work with some of the clients, also heading up the 8-Day Odyssey Challenge, which some of you ladies may have heard about, and just working with the men, trying to let them grow emotionally, grow, especially on the empathy part, and especially on trying to understand the pain and the hurt that they have caused. So that's in a nutshell what I am about, and I think I can give over to Estelle.
Hi everyone, I'm Estelle, and I've been on with Grace Online for nearly 2 years. And yes, I would like to introduce myself to say I am a married wife. I've been knowing my husband for 40 years. We are married now for 38. And hearing and feeling and journeying with you through your pain is definitely the same as what my journey was. And I'm so grateful to be able to be here because of the change it brought in me, the healing it brought to my life, and the strengthening. But as Kenneth always says, this journey is not a quick journey. It is going to take time for each one of us to work on ourselves, to get healed. And I just want to encourage you, trust the process, because getting healing for yourself is life-changing. And what you are going to hear today is definitely going to impact you and your life. And it's only going to be small snippets. It's not going to give the quick answer, but I hope after today's session, you are going to get some hope. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Estelle. I've managed to sort out my one screen just went black. That happens always when you're about to do something new. So I've figured it out and we're back online. Okay, so just a few safety instructions. You're welcome to keep your camera off. You're welcome to use your name or any name, change your name that you're comfortable with. We would like to keep your this space confidential and open for everybody to freely engage. We are recording this for those who couldn't join live. But your questions will remain anonymous as well as your presence in this meeting. We will edit this video afterwards. Some ground rules, and these are ground rules that counts for most of our sessions. What is shared in this space will stay here in this space. We are absolutely not looking to just give people advice willy-nilly. So whatever you would like to share with someone else, you can speak from your own perspective, what has helped for you, what has helped you in your situation. And then we would like to honor each woman's journey without any level of comparison. It's okay if you need to step away, if you need to from the space. So first, I'd like to tell you a story about, I'm going to call this lady Sarah. And it's just a very short sort of story. This lady told me that it's not a real name, by the way. She told me that she was up at like 2:40 in the morning, in a bathroom. She had a phone in hand, not her phone. It was her husband's phone. She had secretly snuck around to his side of the bed, and she was lying on the bathroom floor, compulsively scrolling through all of his emails. Her baby was sleeping down the hall. Her body was absolutely exhausted, and her mind was racing like a Formula One race car. And maybe this feeling sounds familiar to some of you ladies here. So this is a story that was shared with me after interviewing roughly about 90 women in the last 4 months. And this is one picture, one snippet that I received from these conversations. And there's a few other insights that I've gathered as well. The first one is, ladies, that there are often multiple D-days, discovery days, often during your most vulnerable moments. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then that most of the women, like 99% of them, experienced a crushing disappointment that in many cases therapy hasn't fixed. There's also been a level of exhaustion from being the only one fighting this massive darkness that invaded their lives unexpectedly, or that came into their lives uninvited. So also most of the ladies that went through this process had a fear that whispered in their minds, in their psyche, in their minds, that nothing will ever change, that everything's going to stay exactly the same. They had a longing for a husband who's actually doing the work, fighting for her heart, and working hard on his own recovery. And there was a key message that came through, and that was that everybody felt very isolated, very alone, very lost, very broken. And the fact of the matter is, if you are here today, that you are likely experiencing betrayal trauma. And this does not mean that you are crazy. Like, even though doing that activity 2 o'clock in the morning, scrolling through your husband's phone compulsively may feel that you are crazy, you are absolutely not crazy. You may think that you are overreacting to something. That's absolutely not the case. You may think that you have a character flaw, and that this is something that prayer alone will fix. So I know that many of the ladies that has gone through the interview process with me turned themselves to prayer, and they've prayed and fasted and sought the Lord with their entire hearts for months on end, and nothing changed. This is not something that prayer alone will change, unfortunately, as harsh a reality as that may seem. Ladies, and I think this is words that is very powerful that we echo very often in the meetings, in the sessions that we have, and that this event is not your fault in any shape, form, or imagination. It's not your fault. What your husband has done has been entirely his decision, and his decision alone. He is 100% responsible for making that decision. And most cases, he had that issue long before he even met you. This is his issue entirely and completely 100% of the time. So next, I'd like to explain to you, ladies, very quickly what is happening with your brain when you are experiencing betrayal. So there's a specific trauma response that happens when you discover your husband being unfaithful to you. And in that trauma response, your brain is doing exactly what it's designed to do, and that is to protect you. Your brain's entire wiring is all about protecting you. So the first thing that you will encounter that will happen in your life when you encounter or discover your husband is you will have something that is called hypervigilance. So hypervigilance is like excessively focusing on like my safety, trying to be aware of everything that happens around me at all points in time. And this is why you checked his phone at 3 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock, 2:47 in the morning. It's because you're trying to establish the safety that you design, that you long for. This is why you look at your husband, and I've heard this over and over again, and you would analyze his every expression, trying to focus on the micro expressions. You're like scanning to try and protect yourself from what has happened. And this is the reason also, this hypervigilance is the reason why you can't just turn off, switch off and relax. You are on high alert at every single point through this process. The second thing that your brain will do is something called intrusive thinking. Intrusive thoughts that come into your mind, the mental movies that just won't stop. So maybe you saw a scene that your husband was involved with, maybe explained the scene to you. Maybe you didn't say, maybe you just know that he was busy with pornography, but you're playing this movie through in your mind nonstop. You're imagining what it is that he has done. And in this process, these intrusive thoughts will cause you to start comparing yourself to the person that you think your husband was focused on. That is such a dangerous, difficult, painful place to be in, because at every single moment, whatever you imagine, you would not feel good enough if you compare yourself to that. If you saw the images, maybe now there's a visual representation of what he looked like, and that is equally painful, and it's not good to do that. And then the last thing in the intrusive thoughts section would be to start obsessing over details. Maybe there was a specific detail that you saw, and like really focusing on that specific thing. In this process, the third thing that happens is emotional dysregulation. You experience a level of rage that comes out of nowhere. You just feel extremely angry. I had a lady on the program that like grabbed her husband, and you don't want to know where she grabbed him. And there's just this rage that overcame her in this specific point in time, wanting to hurt, and that's all about protecting yourself. Maybe you would find yourself looking at a commercial at TV and you're seeing something that would trigger a thought or a memory that your husband went through, and you find yourself starting to cry, emotional dysregulation, just breaking out in tears and in that pain that you would experience. And then many women have said to me that they have experienced a certain amount of numbness in spaces where they think they should be feeling. So disconnected from our emotions. That's the third thing that your body does to try and protect you. It's distancing yourself from your emotions, or an excessive fight response where you would like to just grab him around his neck or anywhere else. And then the third thing is just being overly emotional and crying for no clear reason. I think many ladies have experienced this. And then there's physical symptoms. And that's the lady that's up at 4 o'clock in the morning, can't sleep, stays exhausted. And that's also a way that your body would like to protect. Your brain is looking to protect yourself because there's a danger here. I can't pinpoint the danger, so I can't sleep. I have to stay awake because I have to be hyper vigilant, looking around me at stuff that's happening. There may be appetite changes. That has happened a few times. And your body holding the trauma or tension of what you've been going through. So that's often a tension in the shoulders, the ladies explain to me, or headaches, tension, headaches, clenching your teeth, maybe feeling a cramping sensation in your stomach. And that is what women go through when they experience betrayal trauma. So the critical truth with all of these things, ladies, is that these are normal responses to something abnormally intrusive that has happened in your life. Your body is keeping the score, as that famous book says, and it's trying to protect you from being hurt further, being harmed further. So oftentimes, I can't tell you how many times I've heard this question, ladies asking me, why can't I just forgive him? And I would like to talk to you for a few minutes about why just forgive doesn't really work. And often I think just forgiving the person is almost like a spiritual bypass. And I think there are harmful messages when pastors and religious leaders would tell you to just forgive him and carry on. And some of the harmful messages would be to just give it to God. Like, yes, like I've heard so many pastors also, and so many stories in these interviews where ladies would say that my pastor said to me, just give it to God. And I don't know, that's a bit of an ostrich head in the sand mentality. Just give it to God, hopefully it won't happen again. But the fact of the matter is that if it happened once, and you lived your life for God, which many of the ladies have done, then giving it to God is not a sufficient answer. That's not a solution to the problem. The other harmful message that is echoed often is forgive and forget, just forgiving and forget it. And I'd like you to think for a moment, why are these messages harmful? Why is it harmful for a pastor or religious leader or even a counselor, God forbid, or a psychologist to say, just give it to God, forgive and forget? And even the next one is focus on your own sins. You are also not perfect. So focus on your own sins. And the worst of all of them, and this one I'm sure Estelle and Chris, you guys would like to have a say on this one. We can talk about it a little bit later. Is you need to submit more. Oh my gosh, that uh, patriarchal system. Like you have to submit under your husband, as if submission to somebody that is damaging your emotions, abusing you, because I believe pornography addiction and viewing porn in secret is abusive, as if submitting more will make any difference in those situations. So I'd like to say then that the truth about these different statements is that forgiveness is a destination. It's not a starting point. I think forgiveness should be based on changed behavior. I think definitely we should all forgive. Like, I'm not saying don't forgive. I'm saying that to just forgive is not the answer. That's not where it ends. Forgiveness is a destination. It's a space that we're continuously working towards. We teach the men on the program to fight for their wives' hearts, and in doing that, to establish a sense of safety and to keep on fighting. So keep on forgiving, keep on working, but that's based on practical practical exercises and things that the husbands do that would prove that they are a safe space and that they are in recovery. And you can't forgive what you haven't grieved. So if somebody has hurt you in this level, I think it's super, super, super important to grieve and to cry and to feel the impact of this behavior, what it's done to you. You can't trust someone who isn't trustworthy. And we would like the men to prove their dependability and their trustworthiness by changing their behavior, even when it's difficult over extended period of time. You will hear that also, that little rhyme echoing through the lives of the ladies on the program. Trust is based on changed behavior under pressure and over time. So there are certain stages that you'll move through. Let's talk about the stages very quickly. And I think the first stage is safety first. And you would need to look under this sort of first step, your physical safety. And often we would encourage ladies to not be sexually involved with their partners if there's been physical sexual contact with someone else for obvious reasons. But more than the physical integrity that has to be in place, there has to be emotional safety as well. I think that is super important. You have to feel safe in this whole process as well. The second stage is a stabilization phase. It's where you start to manage your own trauma symptoms. And that is very, very important. It's where you have like-minded ladies that you can share your experiences with, that you can share someone else that will actually understand what it is you're going through, that will get it. Not this therapeutic space and separation, but somebody that's in the situation with you or has been in that situation with you. So that is very, very important to stabilize yourself in a community. The third phase is the grieving phase. And that is all about crying over the marriage that you thought you had past and the marriage that you wish you could have had in the future. Because everything changes, let's be honest. The moment you discover your husband's infidelity and unfaithfulness, it's the picture of the future that crumbles. At the same moment, the picture of the past, what I thought I had, also crumbles. And I heard this through all those stories over and over and over and over again. But then comes the fourth stage, and this is a very good stage. And this is the reclamation stage, where you start to reclaim your identity beyond simply being a betrayed wife. And that is where you rediscover your worth and your value as a human being, a separate entity from your husband. Understand the two become one. That is awesome and beautiful, but your worth is not dependent on what your husband has done or hasn't done in the past. You are a precious creation, highly, highly valued before God, apart from your husband. If you could find that worth and value in your relationship as well as an overflow, that is phenomenal. But your worth should not be impacted by the fact that your husband's been unfaithful. I understand that that is exactly what he has communicated, is that you are worthless. But that's not the truth. That's the lie that the enemy wants to implant into your psyche. So that's the reclamation stage. And then the fifth stage is the rebuilding stage. And this is where you start to rebuild your life. And that could be together with your husband or apart from you. In our case, we really wish that it would be with your husband, because our heart is to restore the unity and the sanctity of marriage so that it can become everything it's supposed to be. And we do that by helping women become whole, helping men to become whole, and then we bring the two together, and we expect that God's full design would flourish in what a relationship is supposed to be. But also the opposite is also true. Not all relationships can be saved. And we have full appreciation for that. So we will never tell anybody to stay with their husband or to stay with their partner. That is each person's individual decision. And in this rebuilding phase of yourself, you have to, like if you're deciding to separate or to get divorced, then there's a whole rebuilding process that needs to happen in terms of your value and what your life would like, financially, socially, spiritually, in every single level. Okay, so now we have talked in the first section, we spoke about the fact that that if you could resonate with that story of Sarah, 2 o'clock in the morning, and we spoke about the multiple D days and all of that. We spoke about understanding your brain on betrayal, and there we had 4 points. That was the hypervigilance, the intrusive thoughts, the emotional dysregulation, and the physical symptoms. And then we spoke about the just forgive that everybody would like to tell everyone else, and how that doesn't work and why that doesn't work. And also the steps towards rebuilding your life. And that would be safety first, stabilization, grieving, reclamation, and rebuilding. Now we're coming to the fourth sort of section, and this is your burning questions answered. So there's a few questions that pop up in over and over and over again in these 90 interviews that I've done. The first one is, am I crazy for still checking his phone? And that specifically is what I've addressed earlier. No, you are not crazy. You are actually just trying to create safety through information. The real question is checking his phone giving you what you think it would give you? Is it giving you peace or is it feeding anxiety? We all know the FBI agent that knows how to track someone's whereabouts, and you have satellites checking where he's at and going through the Chrome history and all of that stuff. It's normal, ladies. It's normal to want to do that, but is it helping you to be who you're supposed to be? Is it giving you peace or is it feeding that very levels of anxiety in your heart? Is it actually helpful behavior? The second question that I received over and over again is, how do I know if my husband is really, really, really serious about his recovery, if he's really changing and growing? And I think there's a few important questions that we could think about here in this space. And the first thing is, how do I know if he's really changing? I would say if he's really consistently taking positive actions and not denying that he's had this problem, not wanting to talk about it, would be a sign that he's not really changing. If he's willing to talk about it and to face the pain and to stay on the pain field, as Maria always says, then that is evidence that he's really changing. I'd like to open up slightly here to Chris, Maria, and some of the other ladies that's part of our program to share with us, how do you know if he's really changing? What would you like to add? If anybody would like to talk, then we would love to hear your views on that. But maybe I can ask Chris. Chris, what is it that you really see in the men that you're working with that would confirm to you that they are really changing and putting in the effort? Anything that you'd like to add on that?
Yeah, Kenneth, it's well, obviously in the beginning stages, it will be very difficult for somebody to realize that immediately. But there's certain things that you can look out for, and that would be like if he respects and honors your boundaries, and he doesn't just come up with that's now your therapy stuff. He really just honors that. That's point number one. Then if he owns up to his mistakes and takes ownership, that would be something that's evident. If you can see he's using the tools that he's been taught. So that's also part of the transparency that we install in the gentleman, is that we want them to be transparent about what they are doing. So each and every session, talk to your wife, talk to your partner, tell them what is happening, but also let them help you stay accountable to the tools that's put into your hands. And then also, if truth is evident, if you can not trust him, because trust is a process and it's not going to happen overnight. But if he says he's going to the shop and he comes back within a set amount of time, and you can trust him with that. You can see that his A and B lines up again. That's really something that's evident. And then if you can see the healing in him, that's you will see that there's something that has changed. Because the guys who have been addicted for a very long time, they've numbed their emotions. They've numbed everything. They've used porn or sex as an escape tool. And because this is now, they're in recovery and they're in the process of healing, you will start seeing that healing. So that's a couple of things that you can watch out for, look out for, and that you can see that, okay, cool, he's really doing his bit, and that's that's something that you can look out for, that he's not just listening, but he's actually doing something.
Oh, excellent. Thanks for that, Chris. How does healing look like? How have you experienced healing in your husband, in answering the question, how do you know if he's really changing? So Maria's got a hand up. Yes, Maria.
I'm sorry I can't put on my camera, but I just wanted to say what I saw in my husband. In the beginning, he was doing a lot of blame shift and he was not willing to admit that he had a problem. So it was all excuses, excuses, excuses. And then when he really changed, there was an openness, like a form of humility that came in, a softness. And then he started to change his daily routines. Like, whereas in the beginning there was no routine, he would go to work, come back, sit in front of a computer. Now I could see, okay, he's starting to incorporate exercise. He's going to support groups. He started to go for therapy, and then he started to tell me, can we talk about where I am? So I didn't have to ask him. There was this openness to talk about what he's going through. And then the other big change that I could see was that he became willing to tell me when he had intrusive thoughts. I never thought he would do that. That showed me he is really in recovery because there's no cover up, there's transparency. And the whole transparency thing was big for me because that started to bring trust back. And that started to make me feel safe because a lot of times the husband goes like, okay, but this is in the past, you should just trust. And then you can't trust if there's not safety. So he started to give me safety by telling me his thoughts even, and I'm not saying they'll probably won't tell you everything, but to tell me, Maria, I had intrusive thoughts today, and I'm so ashamed of it. And I did have it under control, but it did happen. And that to me brought safety. So that's the kind of things I could see. There was a softness in his eyes that came back even, there was a willingness to start to communicate with me. Before, he was an avoider. I don't want to talk about this. Yeah, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but I don't want to talk about it. Now it's like we can talk about it. We can have final sessions whenever you feel like it, Maria. And that's the kind of things that brought safety to me. Thanks, Gina.
Excellent. Thanks for that. Anyone else would like to share how do you know if he's really changing? If you're able to talk. Yeah, there we go. Thanks, Amanda.
Okay, so with me, my husband he didn't have any emotions. Like I knew he had some emotions somewhere, but he didn't show it. So when he became part of the Grace Online group, he was taught to think about his emotions and actually feel them and verbalizing them. So yeah, that is how I can see progress taking place because he is now more emotional than I am, and yeah, he's telling me he's more open about what he's doing. Yeah, just he even told me to hold him accountable for certain things that he may go back into, default mode. So yeah, that's how I can see with him. I'm still working on the trust part, but yeah, I think it will get there. Like Chris said, or no, you said, Kenneth, it's a destination. It's not a starting point. Trust. Yes. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I also would say really seeing change, as Maria also added, was definitely a softness, no more defense, no more blame shifting, really a softness that takes accountability. And that already makes a major difference, giving you just that, okay, I can trust him now. He's no longer, that you are feeling you are being gaslit and your reality are being changed, and he then becomes the victim and you become the abuser mindset, scenarios. It really leads to better communication, openness, and as Maria also said, him telling things that he never would have done or opened up with. So I see Maria said that he stopped seeing my boundaries as opportunities to win my heart back instead of describing it as, just add her comment, instead of describing it as rules. So that is absolutely the truth. They no longer feel you are controlling them, but they are actually working on themselves.
Absolutely. So my points that I wrote down here said taking responsibility without blame shifting, seeking help without you having to manage him seeking the help process. We had a lady, yeah, I think I think it's her that's here today.
Yeah.
Her husband reached out to us without her even knowing. So she's like, what did he? She's like, that's amazing. I'm like, yeah, that is amazing. That's incredible. That's what a surprise. We've been talking and yeah, trying to help him find his way forward. So, and then empathy for your pain without making it about him. And this one answers the question that was asked in the chat. There's specific programs that we use to help men to not be numb towards the emotions as well. And then transparency without you asking. And someone else said that as well, transparency without you asking. You know, he just came and Maria said that he just shared some of his intrusive thoughts and stuff with her. Wow, that's hard for men to share their intrusive thoughts. None of these things you can force. Stefanie, I see you had your hand up as well. I'd love to hear your insights on this.
Um, I think for me, the main thing was to see that he's also committed to the process, to see that on his calendar, he's got his Zoom session in and he's actually looking forward to it. And I can really, for me, it was I can see his whole demeanor changing, as if he's becoming softer. And when I talk, he's present. He's not, his mind is not somewhere else. So for me, that was quite a big thing. And then truth is evidence, like you say. When a situation comes up that no one saw or something happens and you actually ask a question, and he actually answers you truthful for the first time, then you know he's owning up and he's willing to walk the walk, even though it's difficult, even though you get up days, you get down days. But I think to see that he's really in the process, you can see your husband is listening to you and is really trying to change. So for me, yeah, transparency and being in the moment with you.
That's excellent. Yeah, like I always smile when I hear that story. I remember the first conversation we ever had, by the way, very clearly. And it's been a beautiful process since that point onwards. Thanks for sharing that, Stefanie. Maria.
I just want to second what Stefanie said. A big thing is presence. I remember that one of my questions in the beginning to Kenneth was, does this affect their brain in a sense that I can't concentrate at all, like not at all? And and for me it was that presence. Like when he's home now, I know he's home. He's present with me. He listens. He focuses. He can focus. He can be present. So that was a big wow for me. Thanks.
Excellent. The presence, being present. Patrick Hans talks about grabbing both frontal lobes with both hands and never letting them go. Being present, forcing yourself to be present. Stefanie, you wanted to say something?
Yes, no, I just want to say, yeah, Maria, being present and to respect your boundaries, all those things, and using the tools. I think the most important is using the tools. When they actually make you sit down and say, let's do a fast, you can see that they are ready to work through their emotions by doing a fast and you give them some time. So yeah, using the tools, that's very important for us. Thanks, guys.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Stefanie. The other question that popped up a lot was, what about the kids? You know, we have to stay together for the sake of the children. And on that one, I would say that is far too big a responsibility for kids to carry. Staying together for the sake of the kids, that's a too big a responsibility for the children. So I'm not saying get divorced. Everybody must make their own decisions. My point is just that I think one healthy parent is better than two completely broken ones that's fighting and screaming and kicking each other all day long. So your healing and your husband's healing, your healing, ladies, is your children's security. And your husband's healing is their security as well. And I do understand that sometimes we have to stay together. So I'm not saying we should get divorced or leave each other. I'm just saying if somebody says to me, I'm staying with him for the sake of the kids, I'm like, that's not that they can't be the reason. They should be the result of you staying together, not the reason. You know, that like we want to give out of our overflow. And I think a situation can become super toxic. But I mean, that's not the point of this conversation today. Another question that we get asked so very often is, should I stay or should I go? And I think the real right answer for that specific question is, you don't have to decide today. That's the answer. Should I stay? Should I go? I'm so sick and tired. You don't have to decide today. And we also encourage ladies to never make a major big decision within the first year of your recovery process. So Tabitha always says, never make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. That's very, very true. So I would always say, like, try and grow yourself into a better position for about a year, and before you make decisions. If you decide to stay, then you'll be better equipped if you had to become more healed to deal with whatever that brings. And if you had to leave, then you're also in a better space. So you get into a win-win situation for yourself. The second thing is, should I stay or should I go? I would say that my answer to that would be get support. Get support. Find yourself a support system. Find yourself a tribe, people that you could speak to. And that's my answer. Should I stay or should I go? No, get support. I think the third answer, should I stay or should I go, that I would like to say to people is find healing for your trauma. You need to heal, and your situation should not stop you from healing. You can heal in no matter how difficult the situation is. That healing becomes your responsibility, and applying the tools and the boundaries becomes your space. So I think clarity comes with healing. The more healed you get, the easier it would become for you to make the right decisions at the right point in time. Okay. So if there are any questions, you're welcome to type them up in the chat at this point. We would love to answer them. And I think I would like to share with you a few tools that you could use that that is specifically for that 3 a.m. morning survival space. The first one is a grounding technique. And I think Maria always explains that so nicely. Maria, can I ask you to share with us one of your grounding techniques? Sorry for putting you on the spot. I know you're busy with the kids, but maybe if you could just share that for the ladies here, it'd be good for everybody to hear that again.
Kenneth, my favorite is just using my breathing techniques. And it's something as simple as your exhale needs to be longer than your inhale, and that alone can calm your nervous system down automatically. Um, as long as you are just connecting back to your body, whichever thing you want to use. You can also use, for example, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique, where you can say, okay, what are 5 things that I can see and name them? 4 things that I can smell, 3 things that I can taste, like you go with your senses. So it's basically using your senses to get back into your body. Um, Another good one is just simply take off your shoes, go and walk on the grass. And if that doesn't work for you, I normally go on my knees on the grass. Just connecting with the grass is already a grounding thing for me. You already start to feel connected back to your, getting back into your body. So I just want to say, there's so many techniques, but the easiest one, if you can't and you're in a car and you suddenly have a flashback, intrusive thoughts or a trigger, then start with deep breathing.
Also, like being in the sun, just feeling the sunshine on your skin is also a very amazingly grounding experience. So the second thing that I think you could do for that middle of the night anxiety panic attacks would be to find yourself a few truth statements. So truth statements would be to tell yourself, I'm not crazy. I know a bunch of people at Grace Online that has gone through exactly the same things. I am not crazy. Maybe another true statement would be, this is not my fault. I did not choose this. Or another one would be, I deserve safety and truth. And I think every lady and every human being deserves that as well. And then, and maybe you could also try a boundary that would say, I need space to process before discussing this, so that's a very nice one-liner. I need some space. Please, can you give me space? And often what I use in my own relationship is I go, like, I need time out. When I show my wife this, she knows exactly, like, we need to cool it a bit now, take a step back and experiencing the stuff that we are going through. So I'm going to turn my focus very quickly over into the chat just to see if there are any questions there. How does one unnumb their feelings? The answer there would be to do emotional journaling exercises, to speak about your emotions, to be willing to face them. Our 8-day challenge, which is a free exercise as well as phenomenal program, 8-day challenge for that. So there's a few answers there. Where can the divorced ladies get healing from this damage? So we have some programs and some spaces available, but that's a very good question. Welcome to engage with me about that afterwards. We would love to support you to find some healing from this damage as well. We have a divorce care program, and also finding a community of people that you can talk to would definitely be beneficial on that one over there. Okay. So the point of this whole exercise today is making clear the fact that you don't have to do this or go through this alone. So we have a phenomenal women of worth community. Many of the ladies here is involved with that, and it's a fact, ladies, that the number one factor in healing is a safe community. That is scientifically researched, proven, is finding a safe community with others who understand. So our Women of Worth community offers weekly support groups. We have trauma-informed curriculum. We're busy finalizing our roadmap. We have expert facilitators with personal experience who have lived through this. They live and tell the story, and it's a story of victory and overcoming. We have partner support programs for the husband who choose to rebuild their relationships as well. And then there's complete confidentiality and safety. One success story, I've changed the name, but this person joined us, and this person, I recently heard this, and she struggled to get through a single day without checking his phones. I remember very clearly that specific moment where she said, it's been months and I haven't looked at his phone. I believe that this lady is sleeping through the night, and and is just busy progressing in every area of her life. What makes this Women of Worth community different is the following few things. Number one, that we don't rush anyone's healing. We respect the pace that every lady goes through their process of recovery. We don't prescribe anyone to stay or leave. I think a lot of people think that we force people to stay together. We'll never do that. That's not our heart. We have some individuals on the program that will fight for your relationship, even if there's 1% chance to heal. I say if it's less than 10%, sorry, I can't, I can't fight more than what the partner himself is willing to fight. We honor each person's individual journey and process. We address the trauma, not just the external behavior. We have recently had Dion join our program as well. He's a neuro coach, so it's a bottom-up approach, which is something completely new for Grace Online. We've also had a lady that does EMDR sessions. So we're trying to resolve the root cause of this issue as well. And then we believe, and I think this is the most important one, I almost feel emotional when I say this. We believe that every single lady in this space deserves to be cherished. You are valuable, you are awesome, you are beautiful, you are fantastic, and you deserve nothing less than God's best for your life, regardless of whether your husband chooses recovery or not. And we've seen quite a number of ladies go through our process and not wishing to save the relationship, go through a process of divorce, shining. We recently listened to somebody's testimony, step one presentation a week ago. This lady's absolutely shining through the divorce process. That's not what we want. We would like to save the relationship, but we understand that it's not up to us to save anyone's relationship. And it takes two to tango, baby. It's not up to one person to save the relationship. It takes both individuals, because it's hard work to save a relationship. So we believe that every single lady deserves to be cherished. So for the new ladies that's here, and there's quite a few, you are welcome to join our Women of Worth community. You're welcome to send me a DM on Facebook, or connect with me privately on WhatsApp. You could just send me a message, or send me a private message even in the chat here. then we will help you to find your space back home, to a place where you feel you belong. It's sad that, like, I think there's another lady that said it's like, welcome to the space where none of us wanted to be in, but we're also very glad that we are here. So none of you wanted to be here, but once you connect with other ladies and experience the community, it will feel like home. And we want that. We want you to feel home at our space, at our place. You can also schedule a confidential conversation with one of the ladies that's part of our organization, and that's Estelle and Tabitha and Maria, and there's a few others as well. But you're welcome to do that. We will have that conversation with you. You could discuss with me, and we will set you up with that. But the point is, you showed up today, and showing up is incredibly brave. You're asking questions, and asking questions is wise. My mother always taught me, going to school, it's not about the answers that you get. It's you go to school so that you can learn to ask the right questions. And sometimes I become a bit pesky with that. I ask my kids too many questions. Like, Daddy, stop with the questions. But I'm after their hearts. So you came today and you asked questions in the interviews that I've had with you. And I think that is very wise. And then you are here because you're considering support. You feel that you need to speak to other people as well. And that is loving yourself. You are here today because you desire support and you want to learn how to love yourself better. So if you're listening to this, please reach out. You are not as broken as you thought you were. You are very broken, most likely, but you've got enough strength left to show up here today. And every single response that you have had as a result of your husband cheating on you is a normal response to an abnormal event, which is called betrayal. I'd like you to know today that you are not alone, that you are worthy of love, that you are worthy of truth, and that you are worthy of a life that is free from betrayal. Your healing matters. It matters to you. It matters to your children. It matters to the world out there that needs your wholeness, and it matters to God as well. So thank you for listening to us today.